guys want to do. I'll ride with the. I can handle it.
All right. Oh, this one's not so bad.
Don't have some old girlfriend on though from when I was in high school.
No, we're not going to Jerry Springer you, man. Don't worry about that.
No, that ain't my baby.
Got it.
Hey, on the feature topics, SEO, online, offline, merchandising. Of course, you've got speakers that basically correlate to each one of those topics. Was there one that you maybe you really wanted to dive into, or wanted to elaborate?
I mean, for me, obviously, like talking about the origin of the event, has some value to me because, obviously I started in 2005, as you know. We started the event. It is concerning to see that some of the same challenges we had back then, we still do have today. In a world where we have people that don't do things like actually call customers when they get information. Like I still see mystery shops like that. So, for 2.5 years, we ran mystery shop program for a particular manufacturer. We ran all their retail mystery shops. So just the amazing stuff to see where 53% of the people actually never made a phone call in the first 24 hours to the customer. That's amazing across
50%.
53%.
Jeez.
Yeah. So now the manufacturer sits around and goes, why aren't we selling more cars? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this is how your people are, acting. So I think origin's important, kind of obviously who we have, why we're doing it. I'm selling tickets at $199, dude. This is not a cash cow for me. I'm not anybody who's ever done an event knows what it costs.
It's not even half of a Virginia processing fee.
Right. That's a good point. That's right. So, there's a reason why we always hear about the same dealers over and over again. We need more dealers to get with the program. And I'll talk about who else-itis, which is kind of the problem I think is an industry issue, where we always want to know who else is doing something before we decide to do it, which kills innovation.
What do you call that? Who is itis?
Who else-itis?
Ah.
So medically, right, itis is bad. Bursitis, bronchitis, right? It's a condition. So dealers have a condition I call who else-itis. So, Cory, I love the product. Sounds great. We really should do this. Let me ask you, who else is doing it? And if you don't get what you want to hear, that's the end of the discussion.
I want to hear no one else is doing it so I can take advantage.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But that's why we always hear about the same people.
Might have to add that part into our sales pitch. When that question comes up.
Yeah, right.
Don't you want to hear nobody and it should only be you?
Right.
No, I get credit.
I'll come back when 12,362 retailers are on it. It's a manufacturer mandate and everybody has to have the same thing. That would be a great opportunity for a competitive advantage.
Exactly.
Logic is a tough situation sometimes.
Well, by the way, we haven't gone live yet, so even though it's being recorded right now,
okay,
you're okay.
Okay. I mean, nothing I won't say online. I think pretty much.
Just like,
especially now that it's recorded anyway. So
right. It's blackmail at this point.
Put on my political hat now. I have so much empathy for the marketplace. So there you go.
It's very difficult making a decision when there aren't 12,000 dealers all doing it at the same time.
Yeah, yes.
We understand.
Listen, you guys are going to be commended. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I know you have advertising and sponsors, but man, I mean, Jeff, especially you stuck with this for so long. I think, it
was, I think it was 15 years this year.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which I should, I say it every time, but I should absolutely know.
Right.
And if it was, then I guess we missed our 15-year anniversary.
Well, no, it's not 15 years. It's 14 years.
I think we said that last year.
No.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure it was 2005.
All right. I'll have to get,
Well,
Unless you can find something from '04.
well, all I have to do is go back into the archives and
We
find out
did.
when the first post was.
The good news is none of us have aged a day, so that's good.
Right.
Hey,
So,
exactly.
Nobody's gotten fatter. Everybody's gotten skinnier, and nobody's lost a single hair.
listen,
No, not at all.
you can do hair, you can gain weight, lose weight, but really it's the face that's the deal. That's where age shows the most on you. So you can keep that face vibrant and keep everything tight up here, then you're good.
What do you do, Cory? Do you moisturize?
Oh, you got to exfoliate, you got to moisturize. This is Clarisonic and Tom Ford, baby, all day long.
I have some old pictures of us, man. You definitely haven't changed much at all.
No, I told Alex, I think I dropped a few pounds. I think that 2010, 2011, I think was the height of stress. So I think I might have changed.
You found out how to reverse it, huh? Less stress.
That's right.
Less travel.
Yeah, say no.
Say no. Yeah. I would definitely say less stress and less travel probably. Yeah. I think last time we were on the phone, you mentioned about just the fact that you've been able to now have it set up where you do a lot of your work from your office. You're not having to go out and travel quite as much.
Yeah, I mean, the virtual our virtual training, Mosley 24/7 helps. You at some point, people who work in this consulting, coaching field have to think about scale. So you have to start to think about that, or you just are burnt.
How have you been able to scale this?
Like I said, Mosley 24/7 has helped a lot. Also expanding kind of who we work with. So have had the opportunity to work with 5 manufacturers now, and work on those programs, which kind of create a different, writing curriculum, writing content that can scale out. So it's not, just, listen, I have a lot of respect for the Road Warriors, as that was certainly, part of our deal very, very early on, especially. So I know how that whole deal is. But you just have to start to think about how do you create more value beyond, the day idea, or how do you create that scale? So, I mean, virtual does it, doing things like this, have the ability to do it, investing in studios and things where you can produce professional content. It's great to, be walking around outside, in your yard, philosophizing.
Is this a glass of wine?
Yeah, it's great to be out there, or to be whatever, but, sometimes you want to produce professional content, professional training, that type of thing. You kind of have to invest a little differently in it to do it. So those, I think, are a couple of the things. And really just redefining who, we all have to make client decisions, right? There are buyers. I mean, Jeff, you think about every customer can't come in the Mercedes store and buy, right? That's not an option for all, for every person. So that applies also in everybody's businesses too. You start to change who your clients are and who you want your clients to be. And what makes an ideal client? Who can you be the most effective with? Mm-hmm. And you only learn that, I think, over time. So I think that's been kind of that evolution for sure.
Well, you mentioned investment, and first off, thanks for jumping on with us today. We went live probably, I guess, about a few minutes ago. And but you talk about investment. And one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on today was the fact that you've got your conference coming up here in 2 weeks.
Yep, June 18th.
June 18th. And you've been doing this is your 14th year.
Yeah.
Your annual online sales success workshop. And 14? So you started that back in 2005?
2005 was our first one. Yep. And we ran a bunch of cities. We took a few years off based on some things, but we've never, the mission has kind of stayed the same. And, it's so funny to think, it sounds crazy to say it, but our little event, predates Digital Dealer even. So, so that's, the interesting thing to think about some of those early people, the Delixes, and, before Dean Evans was, big boss hog, to have Dean, out there speaking, and had him on the circuit. So we've had a lot of great people come through. Cliff Banks in the early days, we dragged him, we convinced him to come down and write about the event and do some of those things. And, it's been an interesting journey for sure.
My first conference was in Vegas. Go figure, right?
Yeah. Don't say.
I can't remember who put it on. It was, I think it was one of the magazines back then.
It was, Auto Success.
That's exactly what it was. It was the Auto Success.
Yep.
I was at the MGM, and
Yep.
you speak of Dean Evans. He was speaking there. I remember Keith Latman was speaking with iMagic Labs back in the day.
Car Magic then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a list. I'd have to go. Well, I'm sure I don't have any information on that anymore.
Right. Well, good news is they don't do it anymore, so we're not talking about them.
Well, why do you keep doing it? 14 years into this, what has you? Especially with so many events out there. I mean, especially it seems like they're starting to thin out a little bit over the past year or two, or maybe I've just become more oblivious to them. But I mean, my goodness, when we got started in this, there was nothing. I mean, heck, that's why I started Dealer Refresh, because I couldn't find anyone that was speaking my language. And I was like, well, I'm just going to start this and see if if maybe I'll meet someone, And of course, I met this fool over here, Alex, and which turned me into going to the different conferences and such, and having the opportunity to meet you throughout the years, and hundreds and hundreds of people in the industry. But with so much, I don't want to say competition, but with so many events out there, I mean, I've been close to many years ago. Hey, let's start a Dealer Refresh event. Let's do something in the Northern Virginia area, DC.
Right.
And then I look around, I was like, you know what? Everyone else has an event.
Right.
I just don't feel like doing it. Have you struggled with that, or you're just like heads down?
Listen, I think there's a couple things that you think about in that situation. What was my intent? When we started in 2005, our intent was more awareness for us as an organization, really. Mm-hmm. We knew that we had to try to educate the industry to drive business, because you have a situation in our business a lot of times when it comes to technology, when it comes to technique or strategy, it's not about if somebody needs it, right? If this was about need, a lot of us in our space would be 10 times busier than even the busiest of us would be 10 times busier, because there's definitely a need. I shared off camera, for 2.5 years recently, we ran a manufacturer's mystery shop program, and we found across their whole dealer network, 53% didn't even make a first phone call on an internet lead in the first 24 hours. Like, that would be in the immediate world, right inside our bubble. That's insanity. We're debating 5 minutes fast enough, or it's 15 minutes fast enough. How about never called? So, so you think about origin, and after looking at that kind of data, after obviously spending time with dealers, I just felt like there are a lot of great events. I speak at many of the events. Many of the people that you referenced that have events are friends or colleagues of mine. One thing we've always done different is we've made it about 1 day without the 2 and 3 day commitment. And what that does is a couple things. Number one, it does condense the amount of people I can have. If I could have all the great subject matter experts and the people that are really making a difference, it would be 3 days. But we condense it to 1 day, so we try to address it that way. And our formula has been no booths, no vendor tables. So obviously we have sponsors, but that's always been our model, is we don't do the sponsor tables, no 6-foot tables, no prop units going up, backdrops. And again, more power to everybody who does that. There's a ton of value in that, but that's always been our model. We, have the event. We're doing the event for $199, right? Anybody that's ever done an event knows that you're not getting rich off $199. So I do it because I think our industry continues to need it. I do it because, especially, we're doing it in Richmond, which is my hometown and my home state. So I also know that my state, the people in our area, the people in our state I want to continue to give back to them. I do a lot of work for the Virginia Auto Dealers Association, and I've also done work for MADA, which is Maryland. We did an event for WNADA, which is the Washington Area Association. So I work with those associations also and see some of those challenges. So I wanted to do a one-day deal where you can come get the information. I mean, it's tough to argue with the people that I have there. I mean, people have personalities that they like or don't like, but it's tough to argue with the people and the knowledge base, whether it's immense data that they have access to. People like TrueCar, you can have a variety of opinions to them if you want, but they have 16,000 rooftops, 16,000 dealers, and are processing data and consumer behavior like not most people in our market can do. So to have that value there so we can move forward or see what's happening. Because a dealer inside their bubble, a 200-car store dealer in one city does not completely know the impact of what trend may be coming to the marketplace. So we have to rely on people like that. To get people like Jason Rice. I mean, dude, there's two guys that there's probably only one other person, and that's Dale Pollock. Since he was right next to Dale Pollock, he was employee number 1 or 2 when Dale started Empower. There's very few people that have more knowledge in the used car inventory, merchandising, turn space than Jason Rice. So to have him coming from Kansas, and listen, he's running his deal. He's not speaking at a ton of places. But to have that 15-year relationship, to call a guy like him up and have him say, no problem, I'm there, I think it's just valuable for our industry. I think that's the deal. And being able to provide that value, if there's opportunities for us, if people want to talk, if people fit our box out of 10, then absolutely. I'm not a nonprofit. But it's really, you can look at the math, right? You can't call me up and go, Cory, man, $199, that's steep. I mean, that's just not a, you know what I mean?
That's barely a third of a Virginia processing fee.
That's right. You would know, right? Sure. Yeah.
I felt guilty asking for a discount. Geesh.
Well, I mean, you're but listen, so I want you to think about this for a second, right? So here you are, right? Always staying at the forefront of the industry, right? You're a practitioner and you have an expert opinion to comment on. When you reached out and we talked, you're like, I haven't even been to any conferences in forever. So for you even to be coming, again, you looked at the lineup, you could easily go, I know everything, or I know what these guys are going to talk about, or I kind of stay at the top of this. You could have that attitude. But for even you to say, you know what, this is valuable enough for me to come to, I think speaks volumes.
Oh, no doubt. No, I was looking, which I've got pulled up on the screen right now,
Yep.
just your list of speakers. I think I know everyone here except for maybe I don't believe I've ever met Carrie or Lau Perry, but I know other people from Roadster, and of course I know other people from TrueCar. And of course there's the infamous Sean Bradley. Just can't wait.
So listen, I want you.
Clark's a good friend, and we've had Jeff on, we've had Jason on, we've had Paul on. Eric over there at Drive Centric. So no, whenever I saw the list, I'm like, you know what? I haven't been to a conference in probably pushing 3 years. Yeah.
And look, here's the deal. When you came out to Baltimore, right? We're not packing 200 people in a room, sending a bunch of workshops. If we'll tap out on this deal, and probably the room will be tapped out at probably 60, 65 people. This is not designed to be 1 million people running around with their badges and off coffee collection in the corner. It's not designed that way. The nice thing that we've done, though, in fact, you're going to hear from speakers twice. So you're going to have the opportunity to hear the presentation, but then have them come back and actually do a case study. So all too often, we give dealers information, about what they could do, should do, or what's happening. But I'm bringing these guys back in the afternoon to say, here's a dealer that executed the things I was talking about in the morning. Here's a dealer. Here's what happened to them. Here's their before. Here's their after. And that's where I think we have an opportunity to find the impact. So a dealer can actually see how the great stuff that we talked about earlier, how does that actually work? How will that actually work in my store? Mm-hmm. So to have them doing the case studies. my approach is always, I just want a little different spin, right? All events add values in immensely different ways. I had a particular goal for what I wanted to accomplish here. And the other nice thing is there's nobody really falling over top of each other. So yes, CarNow has a digital retailing product, but that wasn't their core business initially. So Roadster obviously is in that space, but they're not. It's not a complete overlap, right? There's not 3 CRM companies, right? Steve Russell's there. There's no other CRM company. So
I can say this for Roadster, having worked with them. They believe that a rising tide raises all ships, and so when it comes to digital retailing or whatever the vision for what digital retailing will become, they're trying to push that message, and I think CarNow would probably be complementary to that.
And both of them, have relationships with the OEMs. So if you're a Hyundai dealer, a Toyota dealer, Mercedes dealer, you need to know what's coming down or what's going to be available to you. Have the opportunity to learn more about it than just being CC'd on an email from the region, right? You can actually have that conversation with the people who now are OEM certified with these programs. I mean, that's just the important factor. And one of the things that's not even on there, we haven't even announced. So all of you deal with co-op, right? We all know the story of co-op. Alex, you dealt with it at dealer.com in co-oping the websites and these different things. Jeff, we all deal with co-op. So one of the people we're going to have there, it's not even announced, is Ansera is the company that controls basically all the co-op for all the manufacturers. So if you're a GM dealer, Ford dealer, FCA, your approvals and payouts and all that stuff goes through a company called Ansera.
Are they going to be wearing bulletproof vests?
What's that?
Are they going to bring their Kevlar?
No, Ansera does not make policy, okay? They're just administrators. Gotcha. But what's going to happen is they're conducting a huge dealer peer review right now that's going on across the country because they're trying to help the manufacturers get more dealer in line with co-op. So to do that, you got to speak to dealers. Mm-hmm. So we actually will have one of their chief people on site to talk to our GMs, to talk to some of our GM and owner attendees to participate and have a voice in that conversation. And that's something we haven't even announced.
That's great.
But there's a couple different value props that we're going to come with. That's what's really exciting about it. I mean, listen, I wish, and we've got people from Florida coming, PA, somebody registered from Vegas yesterday. So we've got some interesting people coming. Everybody should.
That was a question I was going to ask. Yeah. What is, with your attendees, there's not a lot of conferences, which only boggles my mind why there aren't any conferences in the Northern Virginia area, DC. I mean, there's a shit ton of dealerships around here, So do you find is that the majority of your attendees are dealerships in the region?
The truth is that it's all about a dealer's perspective. And if our business comes down to generally one key decision maker. So one person generally stands in the way of whether or not a whole team can find greater success. Mm-hmm. And if you have a believer, if that decider is a believer, then you're in business. If that decider is not a believer, then 10, 12, 15 people inside an organization may never get information that could be valuable to them. And we don't have the luxury of being like the real estate industry, where real estate is trained. Hey, dude, you want to get good at selling houses? You better go pay for yourself to go to these deals. We have a dependency that's been ingrained in us that if our dealer does not send us or if our dealer doesn't invest in us to do something, then we won't get any information. Yeah. So it's silly, but that's going to take a vast shift in mindset. So what happens is if you have a dealer-friendly market or an education-friendly market, or a destination where people can go to their conference in Vegas for a couple hours and then go get into some other stuff that they can't do in Butte, Montana, where they may live, then it creates a different scenario. But that's the challenge. So why things have been problematic, this is a tough deal. I mean, making a decision to do this in Richmond was a tough deal because we've got local dealers that I know should be here that haven't registered yet. Yeah. So I was surprised to see people flying in from, when you're not doing a destination, you're surprised by things like that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see a guy coming from Florida. People are driving 5 hours from Pennsylvania. Guy from Vegas is flying in. We've got people from Atlanta coming. And it's kind of running 50-50 with locals and people from out of state, which I think is super interesting because, you know, Alex, like you and I were talking offline, like they should all, I mean, there's nobody that can tell me, and only because I know the market, I shop the market, I talk to dealers, I know what dealers, you know, are doing. I interview, I hire for stores. So I know I just hired to just staff the BDC where the girl was telling me, you know, how underpaid she was, how if they, you know, how the pressure cooker that they're in, if they don't make X amount of calls a day, they're fired. So I know what the market is doing, right? So it's not like we're all burning it up out here. We're crushing it. Everybody's killing it. We're on top of our customers. Customer service is at an all-time high. Customer experience is an all-time high. That's not the case. So there's deficiency of knowledge and there's ignorance. I guess you got to figure out where you fall in that mix.
Well, plus
ignorance is bliss.
This is a great opportunity to meet the one and only Cory. You know, they get to come see you, man. So of course they're going to travel from all over the place. It doesn't need to be a destination. You are the destination.
Well, listen, butt
kissing, Joe.
But the reality of it is, the event's not even. I'm not even featured. The event is not even about me. I'm going to actually do very little talking. I'm there, the host.
No. I find that hard to believe.
Cory not talking. I call bullshit.
It's impossible.
It is actually true. It is actually true. On the agenda, you'll see that. But I want to make sure that we're building value. Listen, you can't get 9 speakers in a one-day event with everybody talking forever. It doesn't work like that. So,
well, speaking of the agenda, maybe give us a quick lowdown of the actual agenda, how it's going to be laid out through the day. You touched on everyone's going to be sort of speaking in the morning. Then you're going to have some case studies with actual dealerships in the afternoon. Yep. What are the actual topics that you're going to be touching on?
So listen, we're going to be covering everything that you would kind of see in a core when I curated this from a whatever you want to call it, you know, internet sales, digital sales, however, digital retailing, however you want to see it, but really the landscape that falls in the major buckets of challenges, right? We deal with engagement issues in the marketplace, right? How do we better engage our customers? Now we have SMS, we have video is becoming a more important factor in how we're doing that. You know, people are using emojis and communicating in GIFs and all these different things. And a lot of dealers don't know how really to address that. So, you know, Steve Ressler does a great job at that. You know, what those guys are doing over there, their whole mission is engagement. If you've ever looked at their product, it's a completely structured, completely different than a regular CRM. So, you know, I think he only talks to me in emojis and GIFs. It's like playing you know, the game, you know, what is it? Charades, like trying to talk to him because that's how he communicates. So he's going to bring that strategy. He's going to talk about engagement, how to get more engagement. There's not an internet department or a BDC or even a dealership in the country that doesn't wish more people followed up, return their calls, return their emails, return their texts, return their videos and create it more.
Can I interrupt you with a question around that, Cory?
Please.
So earlier, in you were saying that you know, in doing some mystery shopping, you found that nationwide for a particular manufacturer, only 53% were of internet leads were not being responded to in a 24-hour window.
Right.
Now, did you dive in deeper to find out why that was?
So, no, I mean, again, as in the OEM world, right? It's very specified. You know, your what they've done or what they've scoped out. Your scope of work, as they say, right, is very specific. So, what we were after was we were after looking at that 24-hour window to determine the impact of that. So, if they did return a phone call, then that call was recorded, and that call was then. There was a coaching platform that got fed back. So, but if they never made the call, then no, you weren't able really to deal with the disposition of that.
But you know, I'm just trying. Like, do you think it's fear on the dealer's part, or the BDC agent or internet person didn't have the content that they needed to respond to that person, or?
No, that would probably be the last thing on my list. I think it's process. I mean, I think we love to beat the word process up. I think it's process. I think it's a lack of care of the process. Oh, Cory, well, we're just going to give leads all out to the salespeople. They're salespeople. They should know how to do their job. They should call the customers. We're going to rely on them. And that's a lack of care. And then when faced with an investment in fixing that, again, go back to one decider. If the belief system isn't we need to fix this or we need to do this or do that, I talked to a story the other day that said and this is 2019. I want to just put that out there, that we're all on this video in 2019 right now. So we absolutely unequivocally will not give a price to a customer. They can basically go pound sand. If they want a price, they can just go buy from somewhere else. We're absolutely not doing it.
You find that it's not so much the dealership isn't willing to give price, but you've got a sales manager at the realm that they just make it really difficult for salespeople to approach. That's what I've found.
You mean, oh God, here comes the internet guy with another loser. How much we losing today? You mean that?
Yeah, it absolutely. It could be that, or if you're the leads go out to the sales floor because it's a smaller dealership. I've always witnessed that with time, there's some exhaustion starts to set in, and the salespeople actually are reluctant to go ask the sales manager because of the attitude that they get from the sales manager.
Right. So again, that goes back. All this boils down to belief process, right? Right. No, belief system. The greatest process in the world won't work if there's no belief system behind it. The greatest marketing won't work unless there's a belief system behind it. Mm-hmm. So in our business, where we had the luxury at one particular time of saying, "Hey, have either of you? Let me ask you this: have either of you ever heard this statement? Cory, just get them here. We know what to do with them when they get here."
Yeah. Once we get them here, we'll lock them in and we'll sell them. Right. They're not going to leave.
Right. We're great with that, right? I just need a customer in front of me, then we'll close them, right? So again, that's a belief system. So now when we go and ask questions like, okay, well, how are we going to facilitate allowing them to get here? Or how do we train the managers? I've literally done, I think back to, it was years ago, but I think back to being in a store, one of the largest dealer groups, one of the largest privately held dealer groups in the country, being one of their marquee luxury stores, and doing training there. And having the managers always be too busy to participate in the training. So that's how that happens, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Back then, honestly, we weren't in a position to go, well, if we're not coming if the manager's not in the training. That's not, you don't have that luxury when you're trying to build your business and you're trying to do that. So you kind of have to work within the confines that you are given. I don't know that I would do it the same way. That doesn't really happen today, but I remember those scenarios. So now you have that disconnect. If you have managers who are out of alignment. So we talk about salespeople working their pay plans, right? Managers do the same thing. So I've always admitted, when I was a salesperson, when I sold Toyotas 20 years ago, we had a $750 pack on a car. So what that basically meant is from $750 to $0, what was the payout for us? The same thing. A flat, right? Mm-hmm. So when we got to 750, in that realm, I wasn't overworking for the deal. So you go to the desk, and that's just honest, right? You go to the desk, oh no, they're not closing here. Or we'll see if we can get a few more dollars. Yeah, okay, I'll be right back. Yeah, I'm going to go to get a coffee. And I'm going to say, well, let's sit here for a minute and I'll go back to the desk. Honest truth, right? Because I had no incentive to work for something that, so fast forward, think about a desk manager. Think about a manager who gets paid off gross profit of a statement, right? What's the incentive to do a $1,500 behind invoice deal?
No,
so it's not that we want a ton of those or we want to load up on those, but again, what would that attitude be? If they take on the attitude that is what's going to happen, and that's what happens every time that person comes, never mind how we get to that point and addressing that through training. How does a salesman have to come to you all day looking for prices? What is he or she saying in their conversations to lead the customer to that resolution? But that manager is thinking about now his pay plan. So just as I thought about it as a salesperson, they're thinking about this. Well, I'm going to roll cars and not make any money. Now, what they may not be considering is things that are beyond their purview. floor plan expense and what it costs to hold inventory and what it costs to keep a car on that lot every day that they don't roll. Factory monies that does not get passed through to them. So those are things that now pass up to a GM or an owner that the desk doesn't. So it's the same way I dismissed the 750 deal. Sometimes managers think the same way, and they're not thinking about the outside issues or the effect on allocation or other factors that don't immediately impact their bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Now, Alex, you asked the question, is there some, I guess, what doesn't permit the processes to happen sometimes? You got to go to the manager, and it's always, becomes a pain in the ass. But I think you were touching on, is there different software out there that that dealerships are using or aren't using? Maybe they're available, they aren't available, and a lot of times those products do fall into the process. And I find that a lot of dealerships really struggle. They don't have, yes, they've got their CRM, but other than their CRM, they don't have anything that really makes it easy and efficient to follow up and to send the customer.
Especially when the customer is asking for a number.
Yeah, a number, a price quote. Maybe they're asking for payments. You get that, comes into the CRM, salesperson gets it. Maybe they're, and they don't have a process at the dealership to go, okay, here's what you're able to do on price. Here's what you're able to do on payment. If it's anything below that, then you've got to go get, authorization to do so. But to at least have something available. Yeah, I find a lot of dealerships struggle because they don't have a product in place that allows them to send some type of follow-up, whether it's about the vehicle, it's not streamlined, it's not easy, and I don't care. I have yet to see, you've got some newer CRMs out there that allow you to shoot a quick video. I think Steve's product, his CRM, that's something that they're real big in, is being able to send a quick video and be able to track that and rewatch and stuff right there from the CRM.
Right.
So that's definitely a big advantage for any dealership using that product. But there's still a ton of other tools out there that dealerships just aren't signing up for. And you brought up something earlier, Cory. What was it? You had a term around it. I think it was who else?
Who else itis? Right?
Give us a little bit of background on who else itis. That's something that our dealership will like. Well, who else is using this product? Because I'll try and bring up,
give away who else itis, though. I got to explain it before you.
Yeah, if we can build this into our process, this is going to make it a lot easier for our salespeople to follow up.
And none of our competitors are using it.
Right.
Gives us an advantage. But go ahead, Cory. What's
I was just going to say, right, in the medical community, we look at the term itis as a medical issue. You got bronchitis and bursitis and these things. So I consider it a medical condition to be in a situation where you could like a product, you could like what you see and hear, you can see how this could create a competitive advantage in our marketplace. But the deciding factor on whether you do it or not is driven by this last question, right? Cory, sounds good. I can see how this could help us sell more cars or service more cars or make more money. But I got to ask you, who else is doing it? And if you don't get the answer, if Brian Benstock's not doing it, then you don't want to do a Honda deal, and Brian's not doing it, then you don't want to do it. So
it's the last one you want to follow. What did I say that out loud?
What'd you say?
Nothing.
We'll check the recording.
No, but that's a great point. And there are some like Brian Benstock, and I'm not ripping on him at all, but like Brian gets a lot of offers. And so it's a little easier for him to have tried anything and everything.
Right. But I mean, and again, this is not an advocacy of, hey, go buy everything that's out there, but great example. So Lowell Perry, who's from Roadster, his presentation is titled Death to the Static Price Quote. So he's going to talk specifically about the impact of removing the get an E price from your website and replacing it with something more transactional, and or how to start those conversations. So that's the kind of innovation we also want to bring to the event. And again, do it in a way where you're not hearing the same things. I don't have anything against the bigger conferences, the expositions and all those stuff, because Jeff, Alex, all you guys, I mean, little known fact, I hold the record for the longest session ever conducted at Digital Dealer. I ran a 5-hour session from 12 to 5 at one of the earliest digital dealers, where we ran through stem to stern, internet engagement, internet conversion process. So I have nothing against that. But it's very tough to be faced with 200 sessions and to make decisions on where you're going to go and who's going to go, and are the right people even down there, and the commitment to do that. So if you are within 3.5 hours of a driving distance from where we're going in Richmond, that's North Carolina, that South Carolina can get here, North Carolina can get here, Maryland. There's no reason why you wouldn't want to go down, you really wouldn't want to go down this list. Tim Cox and the work he's doing at Carnell. I mean, again, I always want to hear from people who are dealing with customers and are processing customer information. They're listening, they're hearing from tens of thousands of chats of what consumer behavior is, what questions are customers asking, what's the impact of that, and how can I now affect my business and not wait for the manufacturer to solve the problem.
No doubt. Some of the other topics looks like you're going to be touching on. So what competition correction, what SEO, PPC, that's only a fun conversation.
So, you know, Milch is going to be jumping on top of that. I mean, think again, I go back to the list. If you went top 5 players in that space that are not just practitioners, they're not just selling widgets or tech, but we're in retail, we're working a process in retail. If I asked you, give me top 5 on who could give us forward-thinking information on what's happening in that marketplace, Eric's at the top of that list.
Oh yeah, no doubt. We just had Eric. Well, no, we're going to have Eric on here shortly. Yeah, we've had Eric on quite a few times, but absolutely, yeah, one of the top guys to be talking.
I mean, he's got stuff I haven't. I mean, he's got acronyms I haven't even heard. I'm like, come again? You know, you pulled up the speaker videos. I did interviews with all of our speakers on there. And, you know, he's pulling up I like acronyms too. So he's pulling up acronyms. I'm like, what is this deal? But you gotta, don't be last to the deal. Don't just, you know, sitting around wondering what everybody's doing. Oh, instead of mystery shopping your competition because you're trying to figure out what they're doing because they're outselling you, you think mystery shopping them is going to solve all your, let's just see what they're selling the car for. Let's just see what they're doing with this deal. Get in the forefront of this thing.
Well, like you said earlier,
take a chance, take a risk.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, Cory, is something I like to call the rule of equal incompetence. So, in a marketplace,
I like that.
The same people going from one dealership to another.
Yep.
They're bringing along the tools they like. And eventually what ends up happening is everybody's using the same stuff, and especially if they're mystery shopping and trying to figure out what the other one's doing, then they're just going to use the same stuff, and everybody is equally incompetent.
Right. I remember going to a store years ago. I went to a Chevy store, kind of cold pitch, and talking to the GM, and GM's like, oh, no, I think we're good in the internet. We got that covered. We just hired a guy. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Is he here? You know, I'd like to at least meet him. And I go over and meet the guy. Guy's got half his lunch on his shirt, you know, because he spilled it all. So he's a big slob, big mess. He's got to have his lunch here. He's got this lanyard hanging around his neck. I'm like, oh, you know, what do you got there? Oh, these are my secret templates. This is true conversation I'm having with a guy. And so I'm like, oh, okay, you know, it looks like you kind of got it together. You know, where have you been, you know, in the market area? His answer, everywhere. That was his answer. So that's it. So again, I go back to, belief system. I talked about the decider. So that GM was the decider. His belief system was he had hired one person that was going to fix all his problems because he has a lanyard around his neck that had the magic templates in them. And that his experience working everywhere and inability to even keep his lunch off his clothes was going to be the answer to his internet and BDC department.
So you just hired the guy who believes the grass is greener on every other side of the fence. Right. Got it.
90 days later, of course, that guy was gone.
Yeah.
And he was. and he was on to wreck somebody else's deal. So that's the, you know, those are some of those challenges to thinking. So, you know, that's the deal. And where people put that thought process, like you can't look at this lineup and go, I can't learn anything from anybody. You brought up Sean. Sean's a great example. Sean Bragg is a great example. I don't care about people are entitled to personalities. There are people who hated Joe Verdi but loved Grant Cardone. There were people who Cardone wasn't their flavor, but they loved Joe Verdi's style better. They loved Jim Ziegler's way about doing things. But so you're always going to have personalities. Here's the interesting thing. We talk about this guy who started, me, David Kane, Jennifer Suzuki, we all started in the game around the same time. 04, 03, 04 is when we all started our companies. And the majority of us are still standing. You can say whatever you want about personalities, but what you can't say is that this guy doesn't produce results for his clients. You can't say that when he starts talking about the statistics of our business, you can't say that he's not a practitioner. You can't say that he's not in these CRMs. You can't say that he hasn't staffed tens of thousands, thousands of reps and BDCs all over the country. Can't argue with that. So when he comes, he's going to be talking about management and teams and the effect on solidifying your team and growing your team. I want to hear from somebody about internet and BDC departments that staffed internet and BDC departments for the last 15 years. So I don't get caught in I don't get caught in the drama of people's drama. You know, mostly it's not, I don't do drama online. I don't do all that stuff. But what I do know is people who produce results. Paul Potratz, good friend of mine. We vacation together. It's no secret that we do work together. If you had to tell me top 5 marketing branders in our industry, tell me Paul's not on that list. I don't care if you like his pocket squares or not. Tell me he's not on that list as a branding expert.
No, Paul's great, no doubt. What's Jeff Clark going to be speaking on?
Jeff's going to be talking about social. He's going to be talking. So Jeff's what I call no G. Jeff is one of the people that has been with us since the beginning. And again, you can frame someone's career however you want, but when you talk about the idea of trying to stay at the front of innovation, whether it was leads, Jeff's contributed in our industry in a couple different ways, right, over the last 15 years. And now as president of Social Dealer, well, what's the deal with Social Dealer? Started by a car dealer to solve his social media issues. So we've got practitioners there. And for Jeff, he's going to be focusing on social media, the impact of social media on sales, and the impact of cause-based marketing. So how you can use the things you are doing in the community, providing that you are, and even possibly changing the perspective of a dealer who isn't. I've been in a meeting with dealers where the conversation of supporting the community has come up, and I've literally had an owner say, oh, we can curse on this thing? Is that, I heard you curse earlier?
Alex has a filthy mouth, so.
Oh, yeah.
No worries
for it, man.
His words were literally.
I'm always cracking the whip on him.
So in the rare instance where I curse, he literally said, because I'm quoting, he literally said, we're not doing shit for the community. That was his answer.
Well, at least he's honest.
Right, at least he's honest. So maybe Jeff can change that. He's not going to be there, but maybe the people that are coming, Jeff has an opportunity to change someone's perspective or better inform someone on how to do that. Because social media is part of our marketplace.
Yeah, dealerships are still struggling. I mean, when it comes down to advertising on social media, that's easy to do. You can get some great agencies out there. But when it comes down to actually handling,
this could be working. I got registrations coming in right now. Our stripes going off. So maybe the power of Dealer Refresh right now. I love it.
But dealerships still,
they're just mystery shopping you.
Dealers still very much struggle with social media and what to do with their social media presence. Honestly, most of the manufacturers struggle with social media and how to handle it. I don't know if you caught wind, but Mercedes right now is in a nice little tailwind here. If that's what you would call it. They've decided to go about and support, I guess not support, but really go down the whole the identity politics.
LGBT.
And, you know, support some different groups. And now they're hitting a pretty sort of a bad backlash with this. You know, why are manufacturers, why would a car manufacturer even dabble into this? Why would they get into identity politics?
Because they see data.
Yeah.
They look at an IHS report that tells them what groups of people, what ethnicities are buying their vehicles, what age groups are buying their vehicles, what communities are buying their vehicles, and they hedge based on that data. So they say we may lose X, but the data, because they are trying to have a competitive advantage, which is what we dealers, right? They're looking at the data, and the data is telling them whatever may happen right now, short term, what could happen for you by embracing long term. I was in Nordstrom the other day, and Nordstrom has the whole area where you go up the escalator ribboned off with the pride colors. And I was having a conversation with my wife. I'm like, you know, they're going in pretty heavy on this. And of course, there's a lot of people that don't agree with that are their customers. So you are hedging. You are saying, is the community that we are, I'm not going to call it pandering, is it the community that we're trying to support going to be greater for us? Because none of these people are 501(c)(3) charities, right? Is the community that we're embracing going to be better for us in the long run than the people that we may tick off? And that's why they do it, because they're looking at information. They're looking at things that we're not considering now, because dealers get the data after the fact.
Well, that's what I wanted to get into, was the fact that dealerships aren't privy to this type of data.
Right.
And that's one thing that we struggle. And I didn't know if you were going to have someone there, if that Jeff was going to be speaking on that, or if you were going to have someone that's going to be speaking, and not to overuse the word term data, but you know, if you were going to have anyone there to be speaking on data, I guess Jeff will probably speak on that.
No. Well,
it's an area. Dealerships, they don't have social media figured out, but they also don't have the ability to look at different data, different subsets of data, to make these type of logical decisions.
Well, so let me answer that question for you. So one of the things that I've challenged Cory Weiss on in particular, she's not coming in to talk about TrueCar as a product. She's coming there to actually talk about the results of TrueCar's customer surveys and what caused the customer to convert, what caused them to buy from that dealership, what was the impact, and she talks about it in the video also. So that's the neat thing. She's not coming in to go, you need TrueCar leads. She's coming to say, we have 16,000 rooftops. We process X amount of tens of thousands of transactions from our customers. And from our customer surveying, here's the major impact points that we've seen that are driving a consumer's decision to make a purchase. So she's not taking the social media directly way, but that overall impact, that's the kind of information she'll be sharing.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. That's going to be great. I'm excited to see that. So you've went through, look at you. You're such a hardworking man.
I know, and I assume it's multiple days because of multiple shirts.
Yes.
Always dressed to the hill. But you've went through it. I guess you've interviewed everyone. So anyone right now can jump over to the MosleyAutomotive.com website. And actually, you've interviewed each one of the speakers about what they're going to be speaking on.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, we talked about them in general terms. I didn't focus on, what the pithy headline is, what it's not an ADA, 45 word, you got to have your byline. So you're not going to see that on the site, how to unlock the keys to and I'm fine with all of it. It's not
no clickbait. No clickbait.
Yeah, so we didn't focus on that. What we focused on in these interviews is, yes, talking about, not by title, but the things they would be bringing to the table. So Jeff is talking about the impact of cause marketing. Paul's going to be talking about branding and the importance of how the brand is more powerful as a dealer influence level. So Cory, again, talking about, going to talk about the results of that information as to what is driving customers to buy. Because you talked about a minute ago, you touched on social media, dealers not knowing and manufacturers not knowing. Well, it's because they depend on the agencies. Mm-hmm. So if you were an agency that now is 20 or 30 years old that woke up and said, we need to become digital. I don't know that you can just transform like that versus some of the people who are in the marketplace that built it that way from the ground up, right? They built the agency structured as a digital agency from the beginning. You've got agencies that have people spending dealers' money that aren't certified, that haven't gone through, that aren't trained properly to do it. We just needed to hire more account managers. So hearing from some of the people, again, top 5 guy that would pop in your mind when it comes to branding or digital marketing is going to be Paul. So you're going to hear from those agencies that have a track record of creating brands for dealers, not, the dog in the video or that kind of thing, but have really worked to brand dealers. I've interviewed several of Paul's dealers, some of them who've abandoned traditional marketing completely and who've invested in their own YouTube series, their own Facebook Ask the Dealer series that are now making them become more trusted in the marketplace. And obviously, I don't need to tell anybody on here the benefits of building high trust in the marketplace. Creates higher gross profit, creates more customer loyalty, drives referrals. So how do you not have a day that you can dedicate? A dealer sent me a message and said, oh, can't make it. I've got other training going on in the store that week.
Well, I think any dealership has the opportunity to sit and have a whole day to learn from the group of speakers that you've put together. Would definitely be doing themselves a disservice by not showing up.
No question. No question.
That's why I'm showing up.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, there's a gift and a curse in our business, right? There's no secret why we hear about the same dealers being progressive, or we see several of the same people in a lot of places that we go. There should be thousands of people at even the juggernaut like a digital dealer. They don't. If you look at the dealer count, there's not 1,000 attendees that are all dealership derived at those events. And you look around and you go, why? Why wouldn't everybody be coming? It's not, you can't tell me it's money, because they spend more on balloons than what the investment in something like this cost, or even, like I said, other people that put on great events. I've spoken at them. I've spoken at Jim Ziegler's event. I've spoken at Sean's event. I do a one-day deal. I try to bring some of the best and brightest people I can. I couldn't bring everybody, right? Some people emailed me, hey, man, why don't you reach out to me? I would love to participate. Can't bring everybody, right? So I think
I received 2 of those emails.
What's that?
1 or 2 people are sort of upset that they weren't invited to speak at your conference.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Listen,
I did tell you, bro. I keep an eye on Cory Mosley.
Well, you didn't translate that to me. I need to. I don't keep it to yourself, right? We don't refresh Friday, but listen, and it's nothing. 15 years in this business, I have a lot of, just as both of you guys do, we have a lot of colleagues. Some we have deeper relationships with others. There's a lot of people that have great information. I don't have 2 to 3 days to do it, and nor do I want to take on the responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility to take on 2 and 3 days of events. And
especially at your price point. I think about, where you're having the event. I look at the list of speakers, what you've been able to put together, the track record that you have with it, being 14 years, and you're saying, you're going to have seats of about 65 to 80. It just seems like such a low number. I mean, great, because it's going to be a little bit more concentrated. You're not going to have as many, maybe more of an opportunity to have some one-on-one, but my goodness, $200 and all the dealerships within the Northern Virginia area. And like you said, why aren't more dealerships doing this? That's what I ask. I've been in this business for so damn long, and working at car dealerships, and you said it earlier, it's like, why wouldn't you send people to educate themselves? But I don't know what it is, man. It's a mental block. I know some dealerships don't want to send their employees, especially their internet sales or their marketing people, because they're afraid if they become too educated that their worth goes up and they'll go get a job somewhere else.
Let me give you an example of mindset. Yeah, I do. Let me give you an example of mindset, right? Let me give you an example of mindset. GM says to me, he's a client now. GM says to me, says, you know, one of the reasons why I brought you in my store is because one of the worst things for me mentally would be to retire, have another person come in and double the business. Because what that would mean is that I was so narrow-minded and closed-minded about what I should be doing progressively in this store that I ignored the true opportunities for the store to see its potential. Now, the mindset of that general manager is completely different than most. So I would have loved to have taken 3 ballrooms at the Marriott down the street that would have held 300 people. Yeah. But I'd still be sitting there with the same 50 because it's a mindset issue. And if you don't get past the mindset and you don't get people to turn on that way, because it's not, because here's the deal. I've never gotten an email, Cory, well, you know, I just came back from 5 conferences. So that's why I can't come to yours, right? Because I'm conferenced out. There are people who just don't go to anything. Yeah. So you talk about frontline. You said, why wouldn't you send an internet manager? Why isn't the GM there?
Oh, that's always the thing. That's
right?
always. How often are GMs not at the conferences? Right. You know, why don't you send the service manager? Why don't you have the sales? They only send someone down below.
Right.
You know, we found it.
Now, I'm happy to say here, as I look through our roster, we have a fair amount of general managers and owners and people, you know, in that position coming. So that is a good sign. But again, it's not at the level, right?
Let me throw a point out for you.
Yep.
This is, you know, over the last 10 years, Checkered Flag has invested a lot more in its management. They've been sending them to NADAs, to conferences, and it's been the GMs and the sales managers.
Right.
And what they've seen in retention and you know, just the uptick in how the stores are working and their ability to switch from negotiable to one price has gone pretty good for sticking with the same team in a lot of cases. It just seems like the quality of the personnel at Checkered Flag is a lot higher now,
right,
than what I've seen in the past.
So you get a dealer refresh preview of something that I have not even announced yet, but you hit on it, and so I'm going to announce it here. I'm not going to go into detail, no follow-up questions. I'm going to announce it here, but I will tell you one of the things that you will see from us before the end of the year is I've spent the last 12 months building a program that specifically walks managers. We call it the indispensable manager, that walks them through a process to go beyond management, but focuses on coaching, leadership, and mentorship. And we're going to do it as a 2-day certification program. And it's something that people ask me how I got on this side of the business. And when I look back at it, and I think about all the different scenarios, not just income potential or wanting to be my own boss or all those things. But the one thing that drove it was I was mismanaged out of the retail business. And if you look at any situation for growth, all the tech in the world will not fix I'm working on a book. It's titled They Can Save Us. And it's about managers, because the managers exponentially touch individual salespeople going out, doing their thing, getting on social media, selling cars, building their business, the Sean Hayes stuff. All of that is fantastic. But it all will funnel back down to someone who can stand in the way of your success or failure, and that's going to be a manager. So we have to, if we do not address that issue as an industry, all of our situations will come from how our managers buy in and execute on any future strategy.
Well, you know, the problem too is where do most managers come from in the automotive industry? They've come from elsewhere. You know, they're hired amongst the rank that has absolutely no they have absolutely no qualifications in being a leader or a manager. but because they sold X amount of cars,
Right.
and now they know how to desk a deal, now they're a
And
manager.
Jeff, in our business, this is one of the only businesses where you become a manager and you get to stay one forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you can put sales manager on your resume, you get to be a sales manager. No one questions it anymore.
No doubt.
So,
Cory, how many spots do you have available?
I think we're down. I mean, I've fortunately, like literally, had stuff coming in as we've been talking. But I mean, I think we've probably got 10 spots or something along those lines that we need to, that we want to fill this thing out really nicely.
The dealership wants to register. Where they go?
Simple. Easy way to do it is ossw2019.com, or of course they can hit Mosley Automotive. It's going to take you back to the same page. We've got registration right on the site for $199. It's really simple enough. We're feeding people. Couple bonuses, couple things I wanted to talk about. I know you've got it up on the screen. If you scroll
Cory,
down,
give us some bonuses. What are some bonuses that you want to talk about?
Scroll down for me on that screen. I want to take you right to it. Let's put a visual right to it. So right past featured, right past our speakers. Keep it going.
There's the bonus. That man right
there. you know I love you. Right there. So we got a couple things. Dealer Teamwork has agreed for any attendees dealership to conduct one of their complimentary SEO and pay-per-click audits. So do a full audit on your dealership. So if you've been wondering, hey, is the stuff I'm doing effective? Is my advertising agency that I'm with now, is it highly effective? And the thing I love about these type of assessments is they're data-driven, right? It's not people-driven. It's not somebody coming to your store going, you could do that better. It's data they're going to look at. Social Dealer has also agreed to go in and do a social media audit. So to look at what your footprint looks like. So every dealer is going to get that. Number two, we're doing a full recording of the event that will only be available to attendees. That's going to go inside Mosley 24/7. So every attendee will be able to have on-demand access to every individual speaker. We're going to be moving fast. So if they didn't catch something, they don't have to go burying back in their notes. They can log right into our system, watch speakers individually, download their PowerPoints, and any other materials that we provide. And of course, like anything, we want to be motivated. So we're going to have some competition. We're going to have some people bring their smartphones. They're going to have some competition to test the retention of what they're hearing. And we're going to have some great giveaways for it also. So it's going to be, like I said, a great day for dealers and GMs and people who believe in. We're going right in the summer. It's no surprise that it's just a few days before we hit summer selling season. So get some new information that you can put into action that could benefit you not just in 2020, but like right now. Let's not lose the summer. We all complain about it. We'll come out of that third quarter. We'll come out of that summer quarter and say, did we hit a run or did we not? But we spend so much talking about what happened and not more strategy or more planning on where we're going or how to. What did Gretzky say? You gotta be where the pucky huck. I'm messing it up. But you got
You're tearing it up.
Where the pucky huck, where the huck's gonna be, right? Yeah, but that's the I don't quote Gretzky that often, but it just popped in my mind when I was thinking about it.
Well, here's one for you. When you invest heavily in your inventory, it's time to invest in your people too.
That's since we're in quote land, I'll give you one from Steve Jobs. For anybody that's an influencer and decision maker watching this, one of the things Steve Jobs said is that you cannot mandate productivity. It's an organization's responsibility to equip its team with the tools they need to be successful.
Right on with that, for sure. So the only way of getting these bonuses is to attend. We've got, 10 days, 13 hours, 53 minutes, and 24 seconds to go. So if you're watching this, definitely encourage you to register. If you live in the Northern Virginia area, you're
North Carolina. I mean, there's no reason that you.
Especially where you're located, right there in Richmond. Yeah. You're an idiot not to attend. Simple as that. So jump on the website. I said that.
Refresh quote right there.
$199. It's just stupid not to go, and especially with the lineup of speakers. So like I said, I'm going to do that. I'm excited about getting out of the dealership and just learning a few things and being able to catch up with a lot of great people in the industry that I know.
Doing great for you.
Of course, having the opportunity just to see you in person, Cory.
Absolutely. We need to get Alex to book a time. I mean, we need to get Alex.
I try getting him to come, but he's a busy man right now, so we'll let it slide.
Well, I get 50% of Dealer Refresh. I'll take it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to the workshop and looking forward to seeing everybody. And thank you so much for everything you do in the industry. For how long you and I have been doing this for a long time. Same way with Alex, and it's going to be great. So we will be back here next Friday, same time, and definitely an invitation to you, Cory. You said you've got this new product coming out for managers, for leaderships at the car dealership. Definitely would love to have you back on to be able to talk to that, be able to drill your brain and get some more information and some great ideas on how dealerships could sign up for that as well. So
definitely. Thank you guys for all that you're doing. Thank you for having me on also. And Jeff, I'll look for that text of who was complaining that they didn't.
I'll keep that one to myself. He's probably we're probably watching, so he was like, "Oh, he's going to throw me under the bus." So
that's
all right.
I love it.
Yeah,
Cory,
next
thank
week.
you so much. You have a great weekend. I'll see you in a few weeks.
All right, you're awesome. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.